Lena was not a confident girl. She was not rich, not famous, and not someone people noticed in a crowd. Her clothes were old, her shoes were worn out, and her small school bag had more stitches than books inside it. But inside Lena's heart, there was something very rare: patience. Every morning, Lena walked through the busy streets of a rainy city called Mapleton. People rushed past her with coffee cups, umbrellas, phones, and important faces. Nobody had time to look at a poor girl standing quietly near an old bookshop. The bookshop was called the Lantern Room. It stood at the corner of a narrow street between a closed flower shop and a small tea cafe. Every day, Lena stopped outside the window and looked at the books inside. She did not look at toys. She did not look at expensive clothes. She looked at books, because Lena had one simple dream. She wanted to study. But life was not kind to her. Her mother worked long hours cleaning offices. Her father had passed away when Lena was very young. Many nights, there was not enough food at home. And many mornings, Lena went to school with an empty stomach, but a full heart. Still, she never complained. She never shouted at life. She never asked, "Why only me?" She just kept walking, kept waiting, and kept believing that one day her time would come. Inside the bookshop lived an old woman named Mrs. Grace Miller. She had white hair, gentle eyes, and hands that always smelled like paper and tea. At first, Mrs. Grace only noticed Lena from a distance. Every morning, the poor girl stood outside the window, looking at the same shelf of books. She never stole anything. She never begged loudly. She never disturbed customers. She just watched. One evening, when the shop was about to close, Mrs. Grace stepped outside and asked softly, "Child, why do you stand here every day?" Lena became nervous. She looked down and whispered, "I just like reading the titles." Mrs. Grace looked at her torn bag and wet shoes. "Do you want to read one?" Lena's eyes lifted slowly. "Can I?" Mrs. Grace smiled and handed her an old book with a damaged cover. "You can read it here for 10 minutes every evening, but you must return it before I close." Lena held the book like it was gold. That night she did not read fast. She read slowly, carefully, patiently. Some words were difficult, some sentences confused her, but she did not give up. When 10 minutes ended, she closed the book, returned it with both hands, and said, "Thank you, Mrs. Miller. I will come again tomorrow." And she did. The next evening, Lena came again. Then the next. Then the next. Rain or cold, hunger or tiredness, she came every day and read for 10 minutes. Some children from her school saw her outside the bookshop and laughed. "Look at Lena," one boy said. "She thinks books will make her rich." Another girl said, "Maybe she is waiting for someone to feel sorry for her." Lena heard them. Her heart hurt, but she did not answer. She simply lowered her eyes, held the book tighter, and kept reading, because patience does not always look powerful from the outside. Sometimes patience looks like silence. Sometimes patience looks like tears that nobody sees. Sometimes patience looks like a person who keeps trying even when everyone else is laughing. Weeks passed. Mrs. Grace began to trust Lena more. She allowed her to sit inside near the back table. Then she allowed her to help arrange books. Then she taught her how to clean old covers, how to place novels in order, and how to write small price tags. Lena did every task carefully. She never rushed. She never complained. She never acted as if the work was small. For Lena, even cleaning a shelf inside a bookshop felt like a blessing. One cold afternoon, a wealthy man entered the shop. His name was Mr. Carter. He wore an expensive coat and spoke like every person in the room was smaller than him. He saw Lena arranging books near the counter and frowned. "Grace," he said, "why do you let this poor girl work here? Customers will think your shop is becoming a shelter." Lena froze. Mrs. Grace looked at the man calmly and replied, "This shop is for people who love books, and this girl respects books more than many rich people do." Mr. Carter laughed. "Respect does not change destiny." Mrs. Grace looked at Lena and said, "No, but patience does." Those words stayed in Lena's heart for many years. That winter became very difficult. The rain was heavier than usual. The streets became cold and empty. Lena's mother became sick and could not work for many days. There was almost no money at home. Many people would have stopped trying, but Lena did not. Every evening after school, she still came to the bookshop. Sometimes she was hungry. Sometimes her hands were shaking from cold. Sometimes she was so tired that the words on the page became blurry. But she kept reading. One stormy night, the city became almost silent. The rain hit the windows like small stones. Shops closed early. Cars moved slowly through flooded streets. Even the streetlights looked weak in the storm. Mrs. Grace told Lena, "You should go home early today. This weather is dangerous." Lena nodded, but before leaving she noticed something. Mrs. Grace's hands were trembling. "Are you okay?" Lena asked. Mrs. Grace smiled weakly. "I am just tired, dear. Go home before the rain gets worse." Lena stepped outside, but she could not leave. Something in her heart felt uneasy. She stood under the bookshop roof for a few minutes, waiting. Then suddenly she heard a sound from inside. A heavy fall. Lena turned back quickly and looked through the glass door. Mrs. Grace was on the floor behind the counter. The door was locked. Lena's heart began to race. She knocked hard on the glass. "Mrs. Miller! Mrs. Miller!" No answer. The street was almost empty. The storm was too loud. Lena ran toward the tea cafe next door, but it was already closed. She ran into the road and waved at cars, but most drivers passed without stopping. For a moment, fear entered her heart. She was just a poor girl. She was small, she was cold, she was shaking, but patience had trained her in something important. It had trained her not to give up quickly. Lena ran 2 streets away to a small pharmacy that was still open. She shouted for help. The pharmacist and a delivery driver followed her back to the bookshop. They broke the side door and found Mrs. Grace unconscious. An ambulance arrived quickly. Later, the doctors said something that nobody forgot. If help had come even 10 minutes later, she might not have survived. When Mrs. Grace opened her eyes in the hospital, the first thing she asked was, "Where is Lena?" The nurse smiled and said, "That little girl saved your life." Mrs. Grace's eyes filled with tears. For months, people had seen Lena as poor. Some saw her as useless. Some saw her as someone who would never become anything. But that night, the girl nobody respected became the reason an old woman was still alive. After Mrs. Grace recovered, she did something beautiful. She spoke to Lena's mother and offered Lena a small job at the bookshop after school. Not charity, not pity, a real job. Lena cleaned shelves, helped customers, packed books, and slowly saved money for school supplies. Mrs. Grace also helped her with reading, writing, and confidence. Every evening, after the shop closed, they sat together at the back table. Mrs. Grace taught her difficult words, and Lena wrote them carefully in her old notebook. Years passed. Lena grew older, wiser, and stronger. But she never became arrogant. Even when she became the best student in her class, she stayed humble. Even when teachers praised her, she stayed quiet. Even when the same children who once laughed at her asked for help, she helped them. She did not take revenge. She did not insult them. She did not remind them of their cruelty. Because patient people do not waste life proving others wrong. They let time speak. One day, a letter arrived at the bookshop. It was from a university in London. Lena had received a scholarship. When she read the letter, her hands began to tremble. Mrs. Grace stood beside her with tears in her eyes. Lena whispered, "I waited so long for this." Mrs. Grace smiled and said, "No, dear, you did not just wait. You kept becoming ready, and that is the truth many people forget. Patience is not sitting and doing nothing. Patience is working while nobody claps. Patience is improving while nobody notices. Patience is believing when results are still invisible. Many people want success immediately. Fast money, fast respect, fast happiness, fast change. But life does not always work that way. A seed stays hidden in the soil before it becomes a tree. The night becomes darkest before morning arrives. And sometimes your blessing takes longer because it is building a stronger version of you first. Years later, Lena returned to Mapleton as a teacher. She did not come back with pride. She came back with purpose. She reopened a small reading corner inside the lantern room for poor children who could not afford books. Every evening, children sat there and read for free. Above the table, Lena placed a small sign. It said, "Do not be ashamed of slow progress. Be afraid only of giving up." Mrs. Grace, now much older, sat near the window and watched Lena teach children with the same patience she once received. One evening, a little boy with torn shoes stood outside the window, looking at the books but afraid to enter. Lena saw him. She opened the door and said softly, "Do you want to read one?" The boy looked surprised. "Can I?" Lena smiled. Because she remembered exactly how those words once changed her life. From my perspective, Lena's story is not only about poverty or education, it is about the quiet strength most people ignore. Sometimes the people who look weakest are fighting the hardest battles. Sometimes the ones who speak the least are carrying the deepest dreams. And sometimes life is not delaying your success to punish you. It is preparing your heart, your patience, and your character for the moment when your door finally opens. So if you are waiting for your chance right now, do not lose hope. Keep learning, keep improving, keep showing up. Your patience may feel painful today, but one day it can become the reason your whole life changes. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who is tired of waiting. And subscribe to Xylo's Tales for more emotional and life-changing stories that improve your English and your understanding of life.